31 more Chinese companies added to Washington's unverified list, the move to make it harder for them to import advanced U.S. technology. Tech giant IBM investing $20 billion in New York, boosting U.S. microchip manufacturing and reducing U.S. dependence on Asia. Data on U.S. election workers stored in China. Now, the CEO of a California company is under arrest. The United Nations stays silent on Beijing's repression of Uyghurs in the Xinjiang region. A vote hints at China rallying developing nations to counter the West. And another COVID-19 lockdown, this time with police holding machine guns in an airport to keep people from boarding. Welcome to China in Focus. I'm Tiffany Meyer. The Biden administration is laying down some new restrictions. The rules will limit China's access to American semiconductor technology. The Commerce Department added 31 Chinese firms to its list of unverified companies, including China's top memory chip maker YMTC. Being on the unverified list means American authorities don't know where a company's products are being used and cannot determine whether these companies can be trusted with sensitive technology exports from the U.S. Because of that, U.S. exporters must apply for additional permission in order to send goods to companies on the list. The measures could amount to one of the biggest shifts in U.S. policy towards shipping technology to China since the 1990s. If effective, they could set China's chip manufacturing industry back years. The U.S. is concerned about the relationship between Chinese companies and the country's armed forces. The fear is these companies will share American advanced technology with the Chinese military, which poses a national security risk to America. Chinese telecom giant Huawei could soon return to win back some smartphone market share. According to the Financial Times, the Chinese tech group is aiming to relaunch its 5G phones by 2023. That's despite U.S. restrictions. They're designed to block the company from acquiring U.S. technology used to make 5G smartphones. The report suggests Huawei will navigate around the sanctions by using less advanced chips or a phone case with integrated 5G. But experts say this could affect user experience. Versus Huawei's previous generations and rival Apple's iPhone 14. They believe that as long as the U.S. sanctions are in place, Huawei is at a severe disadvantage. Following the imposition of U.S. sanctions in 2019, the Chinese company's smartphone revenue dropped 50% in 2021. A $20 billion investment for tech giant IBM in New York. President Biden visited the plant Thursday. Touting the Chips and Science Act there, he spoke about efforts to protect new investments from ending up in China. NTD's Iris Tao has more.
Touring an IBM plant in upstate New York, President Biden vows to help America lead the next decade by boosting chip production.
This is about economic security, folks. It's about national security. The United States has to lead the world in producing these advanced chips.
IBM announced a $20 billion investment in New York to develop and manufacture semiconductors and more. And the White House says the announcements are part of a manufacturing boom fueled by the Chips and Science Act that Biden signed into law in August. The law provides over $52 billion for the chip manufacturing industry in the U.S., and Biden says it will help solve a domestic chip shortage and help the U.S. gain an edge over China.
China is trying to move ahead of us in manufacturing them. It's no wonder, literally, the Chinese Communist Party actively lobbied against the Chips and Science Act that I've been pushing in the United States Congress.
Biden also stressed that there are guardrails preventing federal subsidies included in the package from being used to invest in China instead.
We're going to make sure the companies that take these taxpayers' dollars do not turn around and make investments in China, investments that undermine our supply chains and national security. That's a guarantee.
Just weeks ago, Biden visited another chip plant in Ohio. And as midterms approach, the president has sought to capitalize on such investment announcements, touting them as his legislative wins. And after giving the speech, Biden's also attending two Democratic fundraisers, both on Thursday. And a busy schedule comes as the party tries to defend a slim majority in both the House and the Senate. Reporting in Washington, D.C., Iris Tao, NTD News.
Trade wars and Beijing's strict virus lockdowns are driving U.S. firms out of China at a record rate. According to a recent list of suppliers released by Apple, new manufacturing sites are popping up in the U.S. Apple production centers in California tripled from the year before in 2021. Those shifts by Apple suppliers are part of a broader transition in the Silicon Valley tech giant supply chain. Yet blue-collar Americans may not see it as a big win. That's because no country can match Apple's scale of operations built in China, yet. According to Bloomberg, 98% of the company's iPhones are made in China, and there is a well-established logistics system for working with scores of local component suppliers. The complex production chains cost U.S. firms billions of dollars and take years to develop. Bloomberg estimates that moving even 10% of its production away from China would take Apple about 8 years. Despite this, Apple and other tech firms have been reducing their Chinese dependence in recent years. Part of it is due to political pressure to increase U.S. production and because of the Taiwan standoff between the U.S. and China. In August, President Biden signed a law that includes more than $50 billion in direct aid for building semiconductor plants inside the U.S. Apple could be moving more production to India, specifically some Airpods and Beats headphones. That's according to Nikkei Asia, citing unnamed sources.
The report said Apple iPhone assembler Foxconn is preparing to make Beats headphones in India, eventually hoping to produce Airpods there too. Nikkei says rival assembler Luxshare also plans to help make Airpods in India. Apple has already been shifting some iPhone production from China to other countries. Last week, it said it would start making the latest model, the iPhone 14, in India. It was the first time Apple started production outside China so soon after launching a new phone. This comes after Apple suffered supply chain disruptions due to China's strict zero COVID-19 lockdowns. Relocating production out of China could also avoid further issues as tensions escalate between Washington and Beijing. Other countries, including Mexico and Vietnam, are also becoming increasingly important to the big contract manufacturers that supply American brands.
An American election software company accused of storing personal data on election workers inside China. A California district attorney made the allegation earlier this week. The company's CEO, an immigrant from China, has been arrested. Let's zoom in.
We're here today to announce the arrest of Yuying Yu, who is a chief executive officer of Canic Corporation in Michigan, in connection with the theft of personal data of Los Angeles County election workers.
Investigators seized hard drives and other digital evidence.
The investigators have been conducting searches of his home and other Canic locations in Michigan.
According to the district attorney's office, the investigation is concerned solely with the information of election workers, stating that the allegations had no impact on election results.
At issue here is the theft of personal identifying information of election workers in Los Angeles County. This information is not, I repeat, it is not related to election material or voter information.
The Michigan-based company is responsible for the software used in managing Los Angeles County election poll workers. According to Gascon's office, Conic won a 5-year, $2.9 million contract with LA County in 2020 for its election worker management system named Poll Chief that was used by the county in the last California election. Conic was supposed to securely maintain the data and that only United States citizens and permanent residents have access to it. Investigators found that in contradiction to the contract, information was stored on servers in China. A day before Yu's arrest, the New York Times reported on October 3rd that Conic had become the target of allegations that it has ties to the Chinese Communist Party. The company denies the allegations. On September 12th, Conic sued a nonprofit vote monitoring organization called True the Vote for repeatedly making, quote, false and racist accusations against Conic. The organization claims that CONIC is tied to the Confucius Institute, a CCP organization that spreads propaganda through Western universities. Entity reached out to CONIC for comment. The district attorney's office is seeking Yu's extradition to Los Angeles. David Lamb, Entity News, California.
Human rights in China and the repression of Uyghurs in Xinjiang province. The UN human rights body declined to debate the issue. Here's more on that.
In a rare move, the Human Rights Council on Thursday voted down a motion to hold a debate about alleged human rights abuses by China against Uyghurs and other Muslims in Xinjiang.
Por favor, por favor.
The surprise victory for Beijing was met with a burst of applause after the result was announced in the packed Geneva-based council room. The defeat is only the second time in the council's 16-year history that a motion has been rejected and is seen by observers as a setback to both the West's moral authority on human rights and the credibility of the United Nations itself. The United States, Canada, and Britain were among the countries that brought the motion. U.S. Ambassador Michelle Taylor and U.K. Ambassador Simon Manley both defended the need for scrutiny.
No country represented here today has a perfect human rights record. No country, no matter how powerful, should be excluded from council discussions. This includes my country, the United States, and it includes the People's Republic of China.
We are here to discuss the most serious human rights violations and abuses wherever and by whomever they are committed. There can be no doubt about the gravity and the scale of what has been reported in Xinjiang warrants such a debate.
The UN Rights Office on August 31st released a long-delayed report that found serious human rights violations in Xinjiang that may constitute crimes against humanity, ramping up pressure on China. But China's envoy had warned before the vote that the motion would create a precedent for examining other countries' human rights records. The motion is the first time the rights record of China, a powerful permanent Security Council member, has been on the agenda of the Human Rights Council. Rights groups accuse Beijing of abuses against Uyghurs, a mainly Muslim ethnic minority that numbers around 10 million in the western region of Xinjiang, including the mass use of forced labor and internment camps. The United States has accused China of genocide. Beijing denies any abuses.
The Xinjiang region in western China has been hit with sweeping COVID-19 travel restrictions. That's as Beijing ratchets up control measures ahead of a key Communist Party Congress later this month. Here's more.
Xinjiang is under lockdown again. On Tuesday, the region of 22 million people reported 38 new asymptomatic COVID-19 cases. That's less than one case for every 500,000 people. The result? Residents are banned from leaving. Trains and buses in and out of Xinjiang have been suspended. As is often the case with China's draconian zero COVID-19 policy, some say the measures seem out of proportion to the number of cases detected. Local authorities said the measures are meant to stop virus spillover. One Xinjiang official also apologized for the spread of the virus to other regions and provinces in China. The sweeping travel restrictions come as an apparent show of force just ahead of China's National Congress. At the meeting, Chinese leader Xi Jinping is expected to take an unprecedented third term. The new lockdown follows just weeks after the last one, where some residents reportedly faced starvation from food shortages. Xinjiang has been under special scrutiny under the regime's establishment of what officials there call re-education centers. In them, Uyghurs and other Muslim minorities are allegedly subjected to a range of human rights abuses.
Travel chaos in Yunnan province. Footage of police holding machine guns at the region's Xishuangbanna airport has gone viral. The fully armed and geared forces are stopping tourists from boarding their planes. This after Xishuangbanna reported 27 COVID-19 infections on Tuesday. Under China's strict zero COVID-19 policy, the area's night markets have been closed, with some residential areas and hotels sealed off. Videos online show empty supermarket shelves as everyone braces for the lockdown. Residents and tourists there have to take 3 PCR tests within 3 days. Even cats and dogs are getting tested. The Communist Party's draconian response to the outbreak comes just over a week before China's National Congress. China's zero COVID-19 policy seeks to contain every outbreak, using strict methods that have wreaked havoc on the country's economy and people. Yet Chinese state media touts the policy as superior to that in the West. That's all for today's China in Focus on YouTube. We're now sharing a shortened version of our program here after being demonetized for more than a year. Here's what to look out for in our second half. 6 missile launches in 12 days. North Korea sent up even more of the weapons on Thursday. And under threat from another of the regime's communist countries, Taiwan is stocking up on essentials. At the same time, China's Gen Z population is turning toward a more frugal lifestyle to cope with a declining economy. The full episode is available on our partner platform, Epoch TV. To sign up, click the link down below. Thanks for watching China in Focus. I'm Tiffany Meyer. See you tomorrow.
Shenyun Creations, the streaming platform from Shenyun, featuring world-class dance, past programs, and all original music. Masterclasses, behind the scenes, comedy, and more. Explore ShenyunCreations.com.